Cipe Pineles was a trailblazer, breaking gender barriers to become the first female art director of a major mass-market magazine. Cipe Pineles was born in Austria in 1908 to a Jewish family. There was political unrest within Austria, so her family decided to immigrate to New York in 1923. Within America, she studied fine art at the Pratt Institute before beginning her first job at Contempora Limited. Working at Contempora gave Pineles familiarity within fashion and also exposure to the commercial realm. She was involved in a major campaign for the cotton mill Everfast. The company changed from producing cotton for home dressmaking to producing cottons for business clothing. Pineles was a multifaceted designer who produced the promotional magazines and upgraded the fabrics. The image on the right shows some of the original designs that she came up with for the cotton. Pineles stated that the cottons were bland and pale and that her job was to design fabrics that would make it into smart dresses using dark, sophisticated colours. Pineles then produced small cardboard mannequins to drape her cottons over. She displayed them in the shoebox store window models as seen in the left image. This was hugely successful and praised by the architect of Contempora, Paul L. Viner, which enabled Cipe to launch into her career in commercial design. The art director of Contempora, Leslie Foster Nast, showed her husband, Condé Nast, Pineles' work within the cottons at Everfast. Pineles was offered a job at Condé Nast in 1932. The Condé Nast publishing house comprised of magazines such as Vogue, Vanity Fair, and House and Garden. She was tutored by Dr. M.F. Agger, the art director of all Condé Nast publications. She was taught about editorial design and mass market printing. Pineles also was paid a regular salary of $30 per week, which was an improvement from having no consistent payroll at her previous job, yet still half the pay of her male colleagues. Pineles struggled and felt that she was the only woman in a man's office. She could listen to everything that was going on, but could only sketch quietly. However, through her creative work with Agger, Pineles was offered the role of art director at Glamour magazine. She was the first autonomous female art director of a commercial American magazine. Glamour magazine was focused on the middle market fashion audience. However, Pineles disliked that Glamour was belittled and she felt that the publishers had no real respect for the people that they were addressing. Nonetheless, she was able to make some changes within the magazine. The middle picture shows a brush font for the title of the magazine. However, Pineles changed this to a condensed Bodoni font as seen in the final photo. This provides a sense of elegance to the publication. 17 was a new publication, 3 years old when Pineles took the job of art director. She was able to use her creativity to establish a visual identity for the teen magazine, as she wasn't afraid to make things feel real and connected to the audience. She redesigned the editorial spreads to make them more playful and explorative with typography, as she felt that 17 magazine needed to be more funky to fit with its young and vibrant audience. Furthermore, she started to employ fine artists such as Andy Warhol to produce the spot illustrations and cover illustrations within 17 magazine. This was a huge development because it commercialized modern art and brought it to the attention of the mainstream public, thus making it feel like a more accessible commodity within American culture. The cover on the left shows fine artist Roy Head's work being used. 17 magazine was a huge success, winning the Art Directors Club Award for Design. The cover on the right is the July 1949 copy of 17, which is probably one of Pineles' most iconic designs. She's trying to establish a sense of harmony between the text and the photo, which is seen through the stripes on the umbrella being mimicked with the lines of the typography. Furthermore, the reflection is actually a second image, which shows the model's facial expression change into a smile. This was quirky and showed a move to more mid-century modern American design. Pineles is credited with virtually inventing the teenage market through the 17 magazine in the 1940s. After war, the world was changed and the economy had shifted. Women were being represented in the workforce, as there were 90 million permanent working women after the war. Charm magazine was taken under the art direction of Pineles. The subline for the magazine was the magazine for women who work, and Pineles embraced this, wanting to show her true connection to the audience as she was a working woman herself. Within her team, Pineles wanted to provide women with the knowledge that their intelligence, strength, and character were valuable to society. She did this through using her audience's life experience to drive the narrative of the publications, focusing on work, money, men's perceptions of women, and women's duality within their workforce, as they were also mothers. The first image shows Pineles having a preoccupation with typography. She balances the image of a working woman in a stylish business clothes with the print background symbolising text and typewriting work. The second image is a woman at work, which Pineles has juxtaposed against a typewriter to show how women were being fitted into the workplace and were vital to the American economy. Charm magazine highlighted the new women. Perhaps one of Pineles' best spreads within the magazine was a series she produced called She Works in Blank City. Focusing on the Detroit issue, within the images that are shown on the screen, Pineles shows a glimpse into the reality of modern working environment for women. She uses the mundane backdrop of a parking lot in Detroit, but further she also uses the vernacular typography of road text as the titles and text within the spreads themselves. Pineles was fundamental in establishing a new portrayal for women within printed media and redefining a woman's place within society. Pineles experimented with mid-century modern graphic design. This was a reflection of the socio-economic inequities that war highlighted. Designs were simplified and had a sleek, distinctive solution. Pineles designed for the people, addressing the issue of women's representation within printed media. Early tendencies within American mid-century modern design were figurative typography, where the objects replaced letters as visual puns. Pineles loved a visual pun, as can be seen in the first image, where the title of Vogue is replaced by the jewellery in the same shape. Looking at objects being combined to create letter forms in the second image by Roy Solowinski shows a Christmas edition of 17 magazine. The women are holding photographs of people making up letter forms, which shows a quirky design and played into the mid-century aesthetic. In 1961, Pineles became an independent design teacher and also a design consultant, which allowed her flexibility to choose her own work. Within her academic teaching, she taught publication design at Parsons. Her course focused on the audience and allowed students an explorative, creative endeavour, establishing how to connect to the audience in editorial design. Pineles had control of all publications that Parsons produced and therefore redesigned their campaigns. While Pineles worked at Parsons, it was undergoing massive expansion and had a school in New York and also a school in Los Angeles. The design of fruit for the catalogue of Parsons magazine was a pun on New York being called the Big Apple, and so Los Angeles was represented as being an orange. This witty humour was very favourable and the catalogue was used for the next 8 years. She produced a new identity for Parsons, which was creative and dynamic, with varied designs showing a fresh new perspective. Cipe Pineles contributed a sense of equality for women's work to design culture of the 20th century. She was so significant within graphic design history as she helped to redefine a woman's place within the working environment. Design history has many blind spots when considering the careers of female designers. The book 9 Pioneers of American Graphic Design examines hugely significant American graphic designers between 1920 and 1970 who have helped to shape graphic design profession. Yet it fails to mention Cipe Pineles. She was a trailblazer for the modern portrayal of women within media, revamping 17 magazine and Charm magazine to have a connection and respect for their audience. Furthermore, Pineles was a multidisciplinary designer, being an art director, but also working on illustrations at the same time. She won innumerable awards for the art direction and publication design that she produced. Most notably, she was the first female art director of a major mass-market company, which was a huge deal as it broke gender boundaries within society. Pineles was the first female member of the New York Art Directors Club and also the first female member within the Art Directors Hall of Fame.